welcome to G5 football review. Right now we'll talk about SMU versus Texas State. Good game. 20 seconds into the game, SMU fumbles the football. Right away, Texas State has an advantage. Got to talk about Jeremiah Hadel's one-handed touchdown grab, probably catch of the year already in the first week of football. SMU's quarterback Buechele went 26 for 36 with 367 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not a good ratio, but nonetheless he was able to do his job. McBride, however, the quarterback for Texas State, went 21 for 39, 227 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Much better ratio than Buechele's. Talk about the running back from SMU, McDaniel. 27 carries, 130 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's almost workhorse numbers, in my opinion. SMU's wide receiver, Rice, 5 receptions for 101 yards. That is insane on 5 catches. That's just ridiculous. I think what really helped Texas State stay in this game was they forced 3 turnovers, but they turned the ball over twice themselves. I think if they were able to keep their turnovers down to a minimum, it would have been a lot better for them, and I think they might have won the game if they just kept those turnovers down and just took opportunity off of SMU's turnovers. Both offenses did crazy well. Both of them had pretty equal success on third down. 6 for 14 for SMU, 6 for 16 for Texas State. SMU averaged about 10 yards a pass, while Texas State only averaged about 5 or 6. So obviously, the edge goes to SMU there. Both rushing offenses did well. Calvin Hill for Texas State went for 13 carries, 100 yards with a 7.7 average. Texas State had the worst rushing offense in their conference last year, so good first start, but it wasn't enough as SMU took the win 31-24. Next game we'll talk about is Middle Tennessee at Army. So on the first possession for Middle Tennessee State, Mid-Tennessee State center went out. Freshman had to come in to back him up for the rest of the game. But then shortly after that, on the first possession, Middle Tennessee State fumbled. Army regained possession, or not regained, but just gained possession. And they quickly went on a drive to put up a quick 7 on the board. Crazy stat for this game was Army had 5 offensive possessions the entire game and scored 6 touchdowns. That is because of a pick 6 that they had on defense. Very important drive for Army was the 99-yard drive that took 12 minutes and 26 seconds of game time and 23 minutes of real life time. Penalties on both teams really hurt them. Obviously not Army as much as Middle Tennessee State, but Army definitely needs to clean up the penalty area. Army was 86% on third down, going 13 for 15. Middle Tennessee State's probably biggest problem was their 4 turnovers, and they didn't force any on Army. 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions for Middle Tennessee State. Total yards, Army 368, no problem. Middle Tennessee only 184. You're not going to win a lot of games at all with only 184 yards total offense. Towards the fourth quarter and third quarter, Middle Tennessee State benched their starting quarterback O'Hara. By the time he got benched, he was 16 out of 24, 109 yards and 2 interceptions. Reed Blankenship had a good game for Middle Tennessee State. 9 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Army's Tyrell Robinson, a freshman, carried the ball 9 times for 94 yards. And Army's Sandy McCoy scored the first 3 touchdowns of the game in the air to really bounce Army off to a good start. Also, Army's Cedric Cunningham, a safety, 7 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Really good defensive game. The final of that game was 42-0 for Army. Next game we'll talk about is Arkansas State at Memphis. Both teams started really good, scoring drives in the first possessions each. Arkansas State definitely lost this game in the second and third quarter. They were outscored 27-3 in those two quarters. They were kind of back and forth, Arkansas State, between two quarterbacks, Bonner and Hatcher. Memphis just played really well balanced football. 275 passing yards, 227 rushing yards, 502 total offensive yards. Memphis's main issue, I think, would be his penalties. They had 12 for 102 yards. Arkansas State turned the ball over 3 times on top of that, and they only forced 1 turnover. So if you're turning the ball over 3 times and you only get 1 back yourself, not going to help you very much. Arkansas State's wide receivers played very well, though. Jamal Jones and Isaiah Azubuike combined for 11 receptions and 164 yards. Unfortunately, no touchdowns, but still quality game for them. Arkansas State's corner, Jarius Remink, had 11 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 pass defense. Pretty good game from their corner there. Memphis's quarterback, Brady White, finished the game 26 for 36, 275 yards, 7.6 yards on average per play or per pass, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Pretty good ratio. You're going to do very well if you're throwing a 4-to-1 ratio. And also the wide receiver for Memphis, Sean Dykes, 10 receptions, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. He'd definitely be the player of the game for me. And that game ended 37-24 in Memphis's favor. It was quite apparent that those middle 2 quarters, the second and third quarter, was what did it for Arkansas State.